happy to start if
Okay,
that works.
then let's turn it the other way around. Okay, thanks.
Okay, good morning. May I share my presentation, please?
Yes, I think there's two ways you can do it on your own, if you prefer, but otherwise,
I
Ubaya.
think I can. I think I'm just figuring out how to do this. Thank you. Sorry, this is very, very slick. We practice this a lot. Can you see my slides?
Yes, all good, Jenny.
So this is our solar market outlook for 2025. And I should warn you, I had to pass these slides by our lawyers on Monday. So some of the numbers have changed very slightly because this is a stage of the year when all kinds of countries are releasing their numbers for 2024, and that slightly tweaks the totals. But we think that the 2024 installs are going to come out at about 599 gigawatts of modules worldwide, with about 335 gigawatts of those going in China. So the official statistics from China came out yesterday and were 277 gigawatts AC, which is about 335 gigawatts of actual solar modules, as you know. 2025, we expect growth to be slightly more moderate than that, but for another 670 gigawatts to be built worldwide, although that could easily be 700 gigawatts. We have a long history of under forecasting these markets, especially this time of year. Solar manufacturers and solar developers are, can everyone see my colorful bar chart of countries?
Yes.
Thank you. So when I show this chart to our clients in the financial services industry and the energy industry and to governments around the world, they tend to be shocked. They say, you think the solar industry can carry on building 0.5 terawatt of new power capacity every year to 2035? You're smoking something. When I show this slide to solar industry people, they say, why do you not have growth growing more than that? You're smoking something. So can't really win on that one. And one of the things that we try to do with this forecast is allocate most of the future capacity to actual markets, which gives you some problems because there are many markets around the world that will start to fall, that are approaching saturation and have very high amounts of solar already, and certainly will by 2030. And that will cause some negative feedback mechanisms for build. Also, growth is not guaranteed. This chart shows the solar product exports from China in 2023 and 2024 by market in billions of dollars. And November 2024 was the lowest level for exports from China since it was a month in 2022, I think. Basically, there's a lot of inventory out there, and some markets are actually slowing down. It's difficult to deny that right now the market is not expanding wildly overall. There are still individual countries that are increasing shipments dramatically. Saudi Arabia is one of them, though we can't quite explain why it bought 17 gigawatts of solar modules last year, because it does not have 17 gigawatts of projects under construction. So sometimes these statistics can be a bit mysterious, but the trend is pretty clear. The solar market in dollar terms is in something of a slump worldwide. However, some markets are growing, and we expect there to be clear growth in some markets in 2025 compared to 2024. The really big ones are Saudi Arabia, India, and the UK grows a lot, but it's not really big, so probably shouldn't be talking about that. But there will also be reductions in some markets, particularly European markets. And part of the reason for that is just that power prices have come down a lot. As you probably know, Europe had very high power prices in 2022 and somewhat high power prices in 2023 after Russia invaded Ukraine, and there was a huge scramble to stop buying Russian gas, which sent power prices sometimes over 400 euros a megawatt hour. You could build a lot of solar at 400 euros a megawatt hour, and residential and commercial power prices rose as well dramatically. But those are coming back down, and in consequence, solar markets are shrinking again, as there is simply less incentive to buy solar in Europe. The other thing is that some of these markets now have a lot of solar. I mean, this chart shows a very simple calculation of how much of the electricity supply would be supplied by solar if all the 2024 capacity is generating at typical capacity factors in this country, and there is not significant curtailment. I mean, Greece will be at nearly 30% of its electricity from solar, Spain at about 26%, Australia at over 24%, and even countries like Hungary, which you wouldn't expect to be nearing saturation, have really quite a lot of solar in their mix. Never mind countries like Germany and the Netherlands, which have the additional problem that they have peak power demand in the winter. And so they really don't need as much solar in the summer. So basically, there's some good news on this, and there's bad news. I mean, the good news is that solar is actually starting to penetrate power mixes and starting to displace fossil fuels in a big way. The slightly alarming news is that this does mean that some of these markets are going to start to saturate. And this means that you get effects like curtailment. So this is solar generation in California. And it's specifically from utility scale solar reported to the grid. It does not include small scale solar. But what I want you to take away from this chart is the curtailment, that little black bit at the top. That's solar that had to be thrown away because either the grid couldn't take it at that time, or the demand for it was so low. Sorry about that. Or the demand for it was so low that it was not worth delivering that solar to the grid at that time. And the percentage of solar generated in the California region that has to be curtailed for one of these reasons has increased from about 1.6% in 2018 to about 6.7% in 2024 to November, which is a lot. I mean, if you're a solar project developer, you don't want to lose over 6% of your generation and not be paid for it. It's also not homogeneous. Some California solar projects have low curtailment, and some have very, very high curtailment if they're on some part of the grid that doesn't have great transmission. And this is quite a hard risk to manage, and it will stop some projects being built in future. And it's more or less inevitable that this will happen everywhere that is having a solar boom. In Spain, the easiest way to show that this is happening is something called the realized power price. There are solar projects in Spain which are selling onto the power spot market. And the power spot market also helps set prices in long-term power contracts. So even if you're not directly exposed to the wholesale power market in the country, it is important for deciding whether you're going to build a project because it affects what contracts you can get for that power. And this is something called the realized power price, which is the average power price you would actually get if you were a project selling to the grid at that time. So the base load price is if you were selling base load power, as in the same amount every hour of the day and night. The solar realized price is weighted for when solar plants actually generate. And since solar plants generate at more or less the same time, it's really noticeable that in 2023 and 2024, the realized power price for solar has dropped well below the baseload power price. There are also some slightly weird things going on with the storage realized power price in Spain, but mostly battery assets should be getting higher prices than solar. And that is in fact the case at the moment. You can also see that in 2022, solar and baseload had a great time on Spain's spot market because of the really high power prices. But what this chart means is that consistently solar will now be paid a lot less than gas or other baseload in Spain. And this problem is only going to get worse as more solar gets added, unless a lot of batteries comes in or a lot of demand flexibility, which could be electric cars charging in the daytime, could be hydrogen being made, although that's looking less likely in the short term. could be freezers, deep chilling in the daytime. But something has to happen to increase the price of power when the sun's shining so that solar can keep being built in Spain. And the flip side of this, just quickly to go back to our demand chart, where we're expecting somewhere between 670 and 700 gigawatts to be built this year, and relatively slow growth. The flip side of this is that there is a lot of supply on the market. This chart is a supply curve for polysilicon in 2025. And there is a huge amount of, so each of these blocks represents a polysilicon factory somewhere around the world, mostly in China. The vertical axis here is the approximate variable cost of production of polysilicon at these plants. And you'll notice there are a lot of blocks of low-cost polysilicon manufacturing, and a lot around with a variable cost of around the $5 to $7 a kilogram range. Now, the current price is slightly below this. Current price of polysilicon in China is 5 point something dollars a kilogram. And what that means is that a lot of these manufacturers are out of the money. We expect them to reduce production this year, but probably not enough to start making a big difference to prices on the market. And there is a huge amount of capacity at each stage of the value chain. If all the polysilicon capacity was actually going to run at a high utilization rate, there's enough for it to make about 1.6 terawatts of modules this year. Meanwhile, there's enough wafers to make 1.1 terawatts of modules, enough wafer factories to make 1.1 terawatts of wafers. And there's plenty of cell and module capacity around the world as well. So really, the overcapacity is acute. There is a huge amount there are just so many factories in the world. Even tracking them is quite exhausting. And people, generally speaking, the financial community sees these numbers and goes, but why? Why would anyone have built all these factories? And I have to explain that solar is just like that. Solar manufacturers are always optimistic, and the ones that weren't optimistic didn't expand and then stayed small and eventually went bankrupt. So the ones that are still around are the ones that did expand, but also they go bankrupt regularly as well. It's a bit of a dilemma for the companies. And we estimate that the cost of making a solar module at the end of 2025 is going to be just under 9 US cents a watt. It's the cost they have to sell them in China is a little bit higher than the rest of the world due to the VAT rebate. So solar modules get what is now a 9% rebate on VAT to sell outside China. And this means that potentially the price in the rest of the world could fall to 8.1 US cents per watt this year in markets without trade barriers. And so we're expecting typical capex for medium-sized utility scale PV projects in 2025 to be around $0.50 a watt in sort of normal markets. So not the US, probably in Europe, which is substantially down in 2010. This is from 2010 levels and even slightly down from 2024 levels. This is pretty cheap stuff. I mean, the problem for solar is no longer cost. It's certainly not module price. And that means that the problems for solar are much harder to solve in a way because they're not a simple matter of manufacturing things more cheaply and more effectively. There's also, the solar market is no longer quite so reliant on China. China is the source of the cheapest and probably the best modules, but there's also 280 gigawatts of annual module manufacturing capacity outside China, most of it in India and in Vietnam, Thailand, Turkey, and Malaysia. And there's 159 gigawatts per year of cell capacity. A lot of this is not operating at high capacity factor, though, because it's expensive. So our expectations for 2025, we think that global annual solar installations will grow by another 12% this year. Major markets in Europe will stagnate or shrink due to saturation. There will be another difficult year for solar manufacturers, probably worse than last year, with major cost-cutting measures and losses. Expect consolidation, which is a euphemism for bankruptcy. I'm honestly slightly surprised there have not been more bankruptcies so far. Inverter companies will probably continue to struggle, especially in residential segments, because there are high inventories, competition, and low growth. And solar penetration into electricity supply is going to get really high. It's going to be over 15% in many countries, causing an increase in curtailment and low realized power prices, sometimes even zero or negative power prices, depending on the incentive regime in place. And these will be negative feedback mechanisms to building more solar. Despite this, we do think the market will grow because that's what solar does, and it will find new places to sell. There will be a pickup probably in sub-Saharan Africa, which has been pretty steadily growing for years now from a low base. And there may be another market like Pakistan, which comes in with no subsidies, but quite interesting deployment. We think that there will be an increase in portfolio approaches. So building a solar project next to a wind project, next to a battery project, which reduces curtailment and means you can make better use of a grid connection when you get it. So solar with storage is going to be a huge thing this year to an even greater extent than it currently is. And we're now seeing solar with storage projects popping up in Europe at scale, which has not really happened before. And there's plenty of manufacturing capacity outside China if countries really want to buy from it. India, Turkey, and Southeast Asia are hotspots, and there's some plans for factories in the Middle East and North Africa. Thank you very much. Over to you, Michael.